Concentrated solar power on its own is deemed to be the most promising large-scale renewable energy technology in South Africa. That's according to Kardi Nassiep, who is CEO of the South African Energy Development Institute. He now joins us from our Cape Town studio to discuss the potential for CSP to be incorporated with South Africa's coal-fired plants. Morning to you, Kardi. There's a conference on at the moment called Clean Power Africa. Obviously, this is an important issue. What's significant about this conference? Are we going to see things come out of it?
Well, firstly, good morning, David. And I think, yes, it's absolutely the right timing for a conference of this nature. If you look at the South African context now and where we are in the energy landscape, the important developments regard the independent power producer sector and the introduction of renewable energy on a larger scale in the country. And what we've established so far is that there's massive opportunities for solar technologies, in particular concentrated solar power, which is on the larger end of the spectrum, as well as on the smaller side, the photovoltaic panels that you commonly see around household levels. So there's a great opportunity for us to now develop the sector and at the same time start looking at job potential, which is the key development.
With these renewable energy sources, I mean, wind is one, solar is another, but of course they can't be entirely reliable, even in a country like ours, which has so much sunshine, because the clouds come out and you can't store electricity. And of course, wind, much the same, although if you live in Cape Town, you may well think that wind is a very reliable renewable energy source. But that's the issue. So you can't rely on them on their own. Is it rather like the petrol and electric car, so that when the one kicks out for whatever reason, then the coal-fired traditional method kicks in? Are we looking at sort of dual technology here?
Well, absolutely, David. I think that's where the concept of hybridization comes into its own. And I think that's exactly what you're alluding to with respect to vehicles. If you consider, for instance, the intermittency issue, which is a problem that plagues the wind industry, and even though we've got fantastic forecasting models available internationally, we still have to consider the variability, obviously, in wind availability. So with solar energy, we have the benefit on the larger scale with respect to concentrated solar power that we have storage potential. So that's the one good thing, and that is during summer months, for instance, we can store enough heat to be able to generate electricity for probably 24 hours a day during summer months. So that's fantastic in its own right. But I think where you want to go with this is that you want to consider, is South Africa going to continue using coal? And the obvious answer is yes. If so, should we not be exploring the use of merging a collector, which is solar energy, in other words, raising heat for steam generation, which is a critical component of power generation, and then using that to replace coal? So you'd still have almost a conventional coal-fired station, but the first treatment process, which is really raising steam, to some degree can be replaced by solar energy.
Japan, great movement against nuclear energy because they had that accident, and every now and then there is a kind of groundswell against nuclear. But really, if it's managed properly and technologically it's safe, would you regard nuclear as clean energy?
Well, I think it's a matter of debate. I think certainly from an international perspective within the energy circles, yes, we consider nuclear energy to be cleaner. It's the same as clean coal technologies. Some people will say there's no such thing as clean coal, but the reality is there are treatment processes, both pre-combustion and post-combustion, that actually allow one to use coal in a far more sustainable way. And the same argument applies to nuclear energy. Yes, we've had some incidents over the past, and I think the Fukushima Daiichi reactor incident highlights the need for us to consider siting as one of the critical elements of placing these plants in the country. Luckily, South Africa, of course, is seismically far more stable, so we're unlikely to have the same kind of incidents that we've had in Japan in particular. But there are other technologies that are coming to the fore, and if one considers the issues around shale gas, and the Minister of Energy herself has been very vocal in her support for the use of shale gas. And if that does go ahead in the country, it provides us another opportunity to hybridize with solar. So here we can form a whole family of clean energy technologies in the country that can go a long way towards ensuring that we have adequate supplies in the future.
Are we going to be able to invest the necessary money to make these things grow? And the other issue is a lot of space required for both wind and sun, apparently. So conferences like these, are they leading to investment which will lead to change?
I think, David, there are many elements that are required in a successful program, and I think the financial side is one factor that's being considered right now. If one considers the independent power producer process, the rebid program, we're currently in round 3 of the bidding process, and already we've been able to pre-qualify a number of technology developers who are providing photovoltaic energy, wind energy, and concentrating solar power into the system. Currently, the costs are estimated at about 75 billion rand for the first 2 rounds. Obviously, this has to be recovered somewhere, and the process of determining what the tariff implications will be is currently underway as well. I think looking beyond that, of course, one has to consider that Eskom is currently in its own build program, and there are going to be tariff implications in any case. So one should rather consider now what the incremental cost, the difference will be if one goes hybrid, if you like, with the conventional technologies, because the net benefit is that it's so much easier for us to attract financing for these big projects. If you consider the somewhat of a fiasco that we had with Medupi, the power station, in which the World Bank was somewhat reluctant to provide financing for the project, it makes it so much easier for institutions like the World Bank to now consider loans when it's linked to hybrid technologies, where South Africa can actually be a pioneer in the space of hybridization and also, I think, talk about sustainable jobs in the future.